All right, so let's get started. Hello, everyone. I'm Padmini, and I'm super excited to welcome you all today to our April Learn and Lead session hosted by AWAAI, which is Asian Women Advancing AI. I see a lot of new faces here. We started this community about a year and a half back. Uvika and I co-founded it. To empower more Asian women in AI. So we have two sessions every month. So do follow us, join us, and all the Asian women there who haven't joined us, please do join us. I'll throw the link in the chat. So we have a fantastic session lined up where we'll be diving into OpenClaw with our amazing guest speaker. And just a couple of quick housekeeping notes before we begin. Our speaker will be presenting for the majority of the session, and there may be a few interactive experiments or demos along the way. So feel free to engage if prompted. We'll wrap up with a Q&A. So please hold your questions until then or drop them in chat if they come up. And kindly keep yourself on mute during the session to minimize background noise. With that, I'll hand it over to Yuvika to introduce our amazing speaker. Over to you, Yuvika.
Thank you so much, Padmini, and super excited. And as Padmini had said, we had started the community to empower women, but along the way, we've discovered that we also have a lot of allies. So we see a lot of men also coming to our sessions, as well as, coming and soaking in the knowledge, as well as coming and presenting. So with that, I am super excited to introduce our speaker today. His name is Ashish Bhatia, as you all know. Let me tell you, you guys are in for a treat. I've heard Ashish speak a number of times, and he is absolutely phenomenal. He's super smart, and he really knows his stuff. So Ashish is a product leader with about 20 years of experience building AI-powered platforms across both enterprises and consumer spaces. And currently, he is a senior product manager at Audible, which is part of Amazon, and I am absolutely a client, where he's leading work on Gen AI-powered conversational discovery, essentially shaping how millions of users interact with content in smarter and more intuitive ways. Before that, he was at Microsoft, and he worked on both pro-code and no-code AI platforms used by Fortune 500 companies, and he played a very key part in integrating OpenAI models into the Power Platform. So he's actually been at the forefront of bringing AI into real-world products at scale, and he is a frequent speaker at AI conferences, and he holds patents in AI sustainability, and is also known for taking AI products from idea to real-world adoption. So you're not just going to be hearing from someone about theory, you will learn from someone who's actually built and shipped AI systems at scale. I can go on and on, but I think it will be great if you hear from Ashish. So with that, Ashish, super excited to have you, and over to you.
Thank you, Uvika, and thank you, Padmini, for introducing in the opportunity as well. Let me share my screen. I'm actually going to be very easy in terms of however you guys want to run this session. I have a bunch of slides that I want to walk through. I have a bunch of demos that I want to show. And then I want to leave out questions because I feel there is so much anxiety and questions around this technology that I'm happy to answer and kind of almost ask me anything kind of a session towards the end. So in the meantime, can you please just go to this poll and give me a sense of where you are in your journey in embracing OpenClaw or any claw for that matter, whether you're using NemoClaw, ZeroClaw, PicoClaw, whatever version, that'll give us a sense of where people are. Okay, I'll give 10, 20 more seconds. So 50% of the crowd has set up OpenClaw, and some are on the fence, and 50% are on the fence. I have set it up as actually a small percentage, so that this is useful because then we can walk through how to set it up, what does that scenario look like, what are some of the use cases that you can uncover, and so on and so forth. So let me start with this. Like, one of the things that I like to start off with is calling out the key moments like that changed the perspective that we all had towards AI, and that has changed the landscape as well. So ChatGPT, everybody's aware. I'm not going to kind of go deep in that. I think that moment made AI accessible to everybody. I mean, some of us were in that space earlier, but that was the moment where it really became real for everyone, right? My wife, for example, all the time she's on ChatGPT, kind of asking for health advice and stuff like that. So it has normalized AI for everyone, and I think that that was a key moment. Beyond that, the next kind of key exponent, as I call it, was the thinking moment, right? When digital thinking became real. O1 model was one of the first reasoning model, and that created this concept of test time compute. And again, thinking became normalized. And now any model that you talk to, you expect it to kind of think before kind of talking to you or responding to you. Claude Code earlier last year was another exponent where agentic coding became available to everybody. And again, sometimes I start these sessions by saying I'm a builder, right? As a product manager, I feel proud that I can build things. Again, as a product manager, you always have ideas, you always have opinion about stuff. Of how the world should look like, what should a product look like what are flaws of a product. But seldom you have that kind of capability, that power to go change it, right? Now, everybody is a builder, I feel. If you have an idea, there is nothing that stops you from realizing that idea and kind of building it. So that's that moment. There were tools before that, Codex, GitHub Copilot, Lovable, Replit, a bunch of Cursor, for example. But there is something unique about Claude Code, right? I mean, that is what agentic coding should feel like. And I think that the moment it landed, it kind of created that exponent. And the final exponent in this kind of landscape, and again, this is not final, we'll see more of them coming along. I mean, one is happening right the corner of our eye. We'll see it in a few weeks probably, is OpenClaw. It made agents personal for the first time. I mean, we've been selling agents as snake oil for a while. We've wrapped workflows as agents and call them agents, right? And a bunch of things. But OpenClaw is kind of truly agentic. Like it can think through, it can kind of get stuff done. Sometimes I get frustrated as I go figure it out, and it surprises me 5 minutes later by actually figuring it out and solving that problem. And one of the things that you will see along the way is I've put these X markers, right? Those X markers are tokens, right? So with every exponent, you will see a 10x bump in token consumption. So with ChatGPT, you ask a question, you get a response. Thinking model is thinking through, generating a bunch of tokens. Agentic coding, once you kind of set an objective and set it to code, it'll actually code up a proper repo for you, right? So with every kind of exponent, the tokens are exploding. The token cost per token or cost per million tokens is coming down drastically, but the volume of tokens are increasing, right? So ultimately, your spend will depend on how much token you're consuming, and that spend is not kind of coming down. The spend is only increasing. So that's kind of the main kind of point here. What is OpenClaw? For those who are not familiar, OpenClaw is a open source repo. You can self-host it. I actually run it on this Surface laptop. You don't need a Mac Mini to run it. My son is planning to run it on like a 10-year-old machine that we were planning to throw because he doesn't want to use it anymore. And he's like, he has a MacBook and he's like, can I install my OpenClaw on it? And like, sure, go ahead. So he's like flashed Linux on it and he's trying to install his OpenClaw on that. So why is OpenClaw distinct from anything that we have seen in past? Claude Code, for example, Claude Cowork, Claude AI, ChatGPT. A lot of them are agents hosted by somebody else. A lot of times they're just chatbots. This thing is different in the sense it has persistent memory, so it remembers things over time, and that memory is owned by you. Right? It can access file system just like Cloud Cowork can, for example. So again, there's not much difference there, but there is a unique difference that it has access to its own code, so it can self-correct things. It can evolve based on your instructions and things like that. It also has a heartbeat, right? So you can set that heartbeat. It's almost like they've used that kind of human analogy, right? That it has a heartbeat, it ticks at the frequency that you can define, and you can schedule tasks, and you can ask it to do things on your behalf or proactively look for things, right, at certain cadence. And then it has a bunch of other things, like it has a gateway, which is running and routing messages, making LLM calls. Channels are very important. The reason OpenClaw really kind of took off was our ability to communicate with it, right? You can communicate it on human channels, right? So WhatsApp, Telegram, Discord, Slack, whatever you want to communicate on. And I'll tell a story why I kind of moved from one to the other, and so on and so forth. So that's kind of OpenClaw in a nutshell. It's a personal agent. You can task it to do anything. The best kind of analogy that I tell everybody is think of it as a remote employee, right? That you can delegate tasks. You can ask it to do certain things. I have given it an email of its own, so it can talk to me. So I'll skip this one. We've already talked a little bit about that. The only thing that people ask is, hey, most of this I can do in Cloud Cowork, for example. Yes, you can, right? But a few distinctions: you don't own the model, or you have no control over the model. Whatever Anthropic will make available is what is available to you. You don't own the memory. It's with Anthropic. It's locked in their systems. You can't extract it. And maybe you can extract it, but again, you cannot use it the way you'd want to. And then you can run it on you can run it on a hardware, your choice, right? You can run it on a local machine. You can run on a VPS. You want to run it on a Raspberry Pi, you can, right? There are many variants of it. Again, an analogy to think through here is think of OpenClaw as Linux, right? Linux today runs 95% of world's compute, right? It started as a small project by one person. OpenClaw started as one person project, right? And over a period of time, it created a momentum where people came in, contributed to it. People loved it because what it enabled them to do. It was this unlock from proprietary operating systems of Windows hegemony or kind of Apple's hegemony, and really created that momentum. And I feel OpenClaw could be that AI operating system that can become pretty massive, right? We will also see many variants of it. Like you have so many distros and many variants of Linux, right? Every mom and pop has their own kind of variant of Linux, and some are very popular, some are not, some are niche and whatnot. And we'll see similar momentum here. A lot of the unique emergent capabilities that OpenClaw came up with, you will see some of that now coming into when Cloud Cowork already does a bunch of things. It has dispatch and other capabilities. You can talk to your Claude on Telegram and Discord and stuff like that. So some of those capabilities will come into these other systems as well. But again, this is the movement which created the genesis for all of this. So my setup looks like this, and I'll then run into some of the scenarios that I've been running. So my OpenClaw runs on this Surface device. This is probably a 5-year-old device. The screen is broken. I don't use it. It was lying in my closet and thought, let me install here. And it worked. Initially, I actually installed it on the gaming PC of my son. He was like, Dad, you're using my machine too much, more than me. So he kind of booted me. So then I resorted to this, right? At some point of time, I might want to kind of move up the hardware stack and try a better system, right? I mean, I've been contemplating doing a Mac Mini at some point of time, right? Those decision points are based on the amount of control that you want to have, right? So for example, my OpenClaw right now runs a Codex model as its primary brain. I have been running some models. I moved from Qwen actually to now running Kimi K 2.5, but it doesn't run locally. Qwen I was running locally, but a smaller version of Qwen 3 billion and 7 billion. And all of this, I started actually with Anthropic models until Anthropic kind of banned us from using Anthropic models for OpenClaw. So you have a ton of control. You can run API-based models. You can run local models. With OpenAI, you can uniquely do OAuth as well. And what that means is if you have your OpenAI subscription, it can kind of take the juice from that subscription. You don't have to have APIs to do stuff, right? So that works as well. But again, sometimes the auth expires and the token expires and your claw will come down and not work at all. I started kind of talking to it on WhatsApp. WhatsApp was a little weird because what it does is you're talking to yourself. It is configured with your phone number. So it feels like when you go to WhatsApp, you're talking to yourself. So it's kind of weird. And my WhatsApp kind of setup broke a few times. So then I moved to Telegram. Telegram works flawlessly. And since then, actually, Telegram experience has become much better. You can actually have channels in Telegram as well. But I moved from Telegram to Discord. The reason I moved from Telegram to Discord was I was having this single-threaded call with my claw, and I'm asking it 10 things to do. So I'm getting confused as well. Like, again, what is the task that I asked it to do last, and so on and so forth. So that single-threaded conversation was confusing me and was confusing the claw as well. So then I moved to Discord, and I'll show you my Discord setup. So it gives you these nice channels where you can have concentrated kind of conversations with it, and that conversation stays within that channel. So every time you talk to in that channel, it has context of that entire channel, right? So that's very useful. That is talk in teams as well, right? With other people. When you're in Discord or Slack with other people, we create channels of here, this is the kind of conversation we'll have in this channel, and it'll stay within this channel, right? And you can invite people to that channel as well. So that's that. A bunch of times you will have to go in and kind of do maintenance activity. It breaks a lot of times. So I remote desktop into it so that on my personal machine, I can connect it from anywhere. If I'm not on my machine, I can still do a team viewer connection into that machine from anywhere in the world. So that way I can kind of come and do some maintenance exercise on it. There is a long-term memory. It uses a very simple markdown system. So it has memory.md file. MD file is markdown file. It's an English language file with some kind of classifier, classifiers which kind of tell you whether it's a heading or kind of subheading and whatnot. So some declaration there, but otherwise it's a very flat file. It's a text file. You can read it. So it uses that to kind of maintain memory and long-term context. Using it for last 2 months, I'm actually trying to move away from that to a memory system that I've designed for my own self. It's available on my GitHub if you want to go and try that. It's called OpenMem. So I'm going to move my claw to that because I feel the flat memory, the flat file is becoming overwhelming for the claw right now, and I want to kind of create some structure to it. I've given it its own email address. I've not given it my email address yet, and I'm feeling more comfortable after 2 months that I feel I can give it read access to my email, so it can read emails and flag things for me. But it cannot use my email to send anything. It uses its own email to send me an email. And I can send it emails. I can drop attachments to it and so on and so forth. I can ask it to do things through email. So that's available as a means of communication as well. And then what I also have done is I've backed up all of this at a regular cadence. So again, I've asked my claw to, hey, at a regular cadence, I want you to back up your memory, right? So that tomorrow machine dies, whatever happens, the memory is backed up in GitHub, because again, memory is everything, right? If you lose the memory, then you lose all of that context. If I have to migrate my claw to a new place, I can kind of revive a lot of that backup through that memory. And then it does a bunch of things in terms of auditing, looking for weekly upgrades, and so on and so forth. Again, if you have questions along the way, feel free to raise hand. I'm happy to answer question. I want to show you a couple of use cases. This is not very kind of complicated. They're easy. One of the things they do for me is you will see they're repetitive in nature. They happen once or twice every day. So using over a period of 60 days, you will understand how reliable is the system, right? How often does it break? How often does it does a task? How many times you have to babysit it? Because that's what we want to learn, right? That
Ashish, Evan has a question for you. Yeah.
Sure. Evan, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was waiting for a good time for you to stop, Ashish. But you talk about flushing the memory and things like that, but the recall memory also burns tokens, right? So if I have a lot of low history, low value things and I'm saving everything.
Yeah.
I don't want to recall that and pay the token tax later. So how do you tell people to minimize that and it's like.
No, that's absolutely the point, right? So great question. So Evan's question is, how do you optimize memory so that you're optimizing your token cost? Because ultimately, every time it loads things from memory, it's probably loading the entire kind of .md file, because it's text file. There is no semantic matching here. And as your memory grows, that much context is coming into your claw, and every time it's making a call, it's using all of that context to go back and rationalize it, right? So it's using a lot of tokens. Two things, right? Remember I mentioned early, I'm using the Codex model from OpenAI using OAuth, right? And what it does is it's not using API key, right? So it's using my OAuth subscription with ChatGPT, which is a standard $20 subscription. So it lives within that budget, right? So that's why for me, it doesn't escalate token cost. But if you are paying via API, then every task you're asking your cloud to do is burning some dollar, right? So you want to be careful of how much and what you're asking it to do. So way to optimize memory with flat file, that is what the challenge is, right? And I mentioned, right, I'm trying to build a memory system which I can control a little bit more. And one of the things that I've done there is I've created a system of decaying, right? That certain memories, it's like how our memories work, right? Memories that you recall and reuse, they get strengthened, right? And things that you don't use or don't recall too often, they fade away, right? They decay over time. And that's the concept that I'm at least trying to bring in that implementation. I've not kind of battle tested it. I've only tested it in the builds and kind of QA that I've run on it. But now I feel the time is right that I want to replace a flat file kind of MD file memory with that memory and see how does that work, and does that long-term memory preserves and the amount of context it is bringing and so on and so forth, right? So it's interesting. Again, remember the reason all of this is interesting, it's your project. You can control it however you want, right? And whatever you want to do with it. And so that's interesting. So this is a fun use case. I like to kind of, there are a bunch of challenges in it. My claw orders food every day for me, right? Every day in the morning, 6:30, it will ask me, what do you want for lunch? Or now it doesn't ask me that. Say, here is a proposal for your lunch. And I can say confirm or change. And again, based on whatever I tell it, it does that. And how did I come here? Initially, I mean, I used to order food at Grubhub every day. And I asked, hey, I want to automate this workflow. Can you help me automate? It's like, sure, I can help you automate this, right? So we had some chat and we came to a point where I felt that it understands what I want to do. And I'm like, what would it take for you to order lunch for me from Grubhub? So it needed browser access and a few other things. So we set all of that up. And then every morning it would ask me, what do you want for lunch? I would tell it. A lot of cognitive overload was still on me on figuring out, okay, what should I have for lunch from which restaurant and stuff like that. I'm like, I need to offload this cognitive load to the bot as well. Otherwise, what cognitive work is it doing than just automating the workflow? So then I asked it after a few weeks, hey, can you go look at my order history for the last 6 months, create a taste profile for me, and then create a plan for me, right? So this is what I get every Sunday. Sunday, this is 4th or 5th of April, 9 p.m. It will tell me, here is your plan, weekly lunch plan, right? So it kind of plans out what it wants to order. I've given it some instruction, make it diverse, make it kind of interesting, and so on and so forth. And I'll also set some rules for it. The lunch should be pre-ordered 11:45 when I want it. Your total budget is like $30. The range for tips is this much. Don't go over this. If you have some slack in the budget, then go ahead and order a snack for me as well, right? So those are some of the kind of basic rules, and it comes up with this. If I can say accept, or if I want change, I can say change, and so on and so forth. And then every morning, it'll come and say this, right? Today's plan is this, and I can say confirm. In this case, it was saying, okay, I planned Kava, but Kava is not on Grubhub for you. So I'm like, okay, use Naya, which is another kind of restaurant close to where I am, and then figured out that and went ahead and in this case, it was running into some issue with Grubhub blocking sign-in, but we finally figured it out eventually. I think Monday did order lunch for me. It broke yesterday, it broke today because browser integration is very flaky. Grubhub doesn't has an API, it doesn't has an MCP server. And that is an interesting point, right? As this thing becomes more mission critical for us, our personal agents, right? If you're a business owner, your business, if it only interacts with outside world using UI, then you are at a disadvantage because Grubhub pisses me so much that I can't automate this workflow. I have to rely on browser integration. It fails very often. But if there was an MCP server, if there was an API, it would be a breeze, right? So again, we will get into that world that if your business is not available through an MCP server or an API, then it's not playing in the agentic world, right? It's like similar to if you're not on the yellow pages, like people can't find you, right? So we're going into that space very quickly. The interesting thing, over a period of 60 days, I would say now 4 to 5 days is when it has not placed order. Otherwise, it has placed order. I actually very rarely go to the Grubhub UI now because my agent just places the order. So again, there's an interesting kind of point of view here is, again, your window to the world was your website, your app, and whatnot, right? And as agents become more pervasive, people are not going to see your website, your UI, your UX anymore. I don't have to kind of grapple with whatever ads it throws at me and offers it throws at me. My agent will just go do stuff. So what does it mean for advertising? Does it mean for all of this optimization that everybody is doing on their UI, UX to kind of grab the attention of their end users? So that's, again, something to ponder over because that's going to change massively as well. Our agents will just do the bidding on our behalf and get stuff done, and we will not see a lot of that noise anymore. So just that, there's an interesting kind of thought there. The second scenario, and I'll show you the diagram of this as well, is I'll consume a lot. I have like insatiable desire to kind of learn. So I consume a lot of information day in, day out. And I had initially asked my Claude to, hey, every day, give me a morning briefing of top 5 or 6 kind of news articles that I should read. And then in the evening as well, give me, so it used to send me these kind of things like morning briefing and then evening briefing with links and so on and so forth. And again, the huge cognitive overload on me is to go read all of this stuff, right? And seldom we have time in our busy day to consume all of this, right? But I drive for 45 minutes to work, and I drive 50 minutes or 55 minutes back from work because I leave early, so I go faster in the morning. I'm like, I can use that white space instead of listening to radio or music. I can learn, right, along the way. So I'm like, can I automate this, right? And I was at a hackathon where somebody kind of planted the seed in my mind that there is a way to kind of automate this. So now my Claw kind of spits out this or curates this morning and evening news briefing. And then as an additional step, it sends it to LM Node or Notebook LM, right, to generate a podcast for me. So every morning, 6:30, I have a podcast ready. All I have to do is go in the car and kind of play in my notebook. In the evening, back, I do that again, right? And a curated, custom, based on my interest, podcast plays for me every single day, right? And I've told this story to a bunch of friends, and they have latched onto it, like, can we get that podcast, right? So now I share this podcast with them as well. Again, Google doesn't make it easy to kind of share it with folks, so I have to deal with some of that. Interestingly, when I was setting this up, and that's why I say this software is self-modifying software. It has the capability to build itself, right? So another interesting thought is people have been talking about continuous learning, right? That the models will become more intelligent with the interaction. That is a very challenging task to do because imagine OpenAI's model. It kind of interacts with 800 million people on a regular basis, right? It cannot take learnings from everybody and make itself smarter. Humans have to be involved in that loop. But it's much easier to change or to create a continuous learning loop for an agent, your agent specifically, or organizational agents as well. I mean, you can extrapolate the idea. And this agent learns from its learnings, and you can kind of use it to kind of improve itself. So for example, in this case, Notebook LM doesn't give, there is no MCP server, if I'm not wrong, there is no API to interact with it, but people have built open source repos, reverse engineering APIs of Notebook and whatnot, that it went ahead, it crawled through some of those repos, figured out which was the best repo based on community comments and whatnot, and actually stitched up an integration. And that integration always worked because it's some kind of a pseudo API or reverse engineered APIs and never breaks, right? Unlike the GrubHub integration, which is a browser-based integration. So that's an interesting anecdote. And what
Ashish, this
Yeah.
is Kausar. I had a quick question for you. You know, this is a really interesting use case, and I think this is something that a lot of us could benefit from. This is something that I've been wanting to do before we had the OpenClaw moment, because I think, but in the sense, you know, go beyond the information that's in the public domain, but information that's customized to you through channels like, say, Substack, LinkedIn, other places where I think right now, because you have your own personal account, the stakes are higher.
Yes.
The stakes for a tool like this, an agent like this, to make a mistake and that having an impact or having sort of a butterfly effect could be higher. Are we at a moment in time where we could build these agents and trust them enough to, say, customize data or information that gets put out on these type of information portals where you know, we have stake in there, we get recognized there, and then any mistake by these agents could have an impact?
Yeah, great question, right? And the answer to that is, think about it this way, right? When you meet a new human, right, how do you build trust with them? You build trust with consistent interaction and consistent interaction and consistent actions on their part, right? And for me, that is what these two, and that's why I kind of like to showcase these two use cases, because the Notebook LM workflow runs twice a day, right? And it, I would say 95% of the time it works. Actually, this one has a higher percentage because it's all API based. I mean, it's still doing some browser lookup because trying to find all those articles. Sometimes it kind of runs into, hey, the world is not, or the internet is not built for agents yet. And it runs into all sorts of problems where people, websites kind of debar kind of agents from looking up and reading articles and whatnot. But most of the time this thing works. The other one runs daily as well, right? But runs into some browser integrations and whatnot. But over a period of time, you will see consistent behavior, and like anecdotally, you will know that this thing works and you can rely on it. And where are the rough edges, and you can go fine tune those rough edges and whatnot, right? So that consistency, that reliability will build trust, and then you can kind of start to do more things with it. For example, one of the things I ask it to do is crawl through kind of Boston area events and kind of pull out a weekly report for me, say, hey, here is everything that's happening in Boston next 1 month. Here are some of the speaking opportunities. Here are some things that might be of your interest, and so on and so forth, right? So you can start to offload some of those tasks that you used to do yourself to your remote employee, and thus build trust. I mean, this is exactly how we kind of train interns and new employees and onboard them into kind of our environment and our organizations.
Yeah, that's very true. And I think it's also important to consider that we are at a point where this specific technology is evolving, and we are, you know, this is an experimental tool at the moment.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, our expectations with AI are much higher than our expectations with humans.
Yeah.
If you had an intern, or if you had or a human assistant who was doing this for you, summarizing this, say, this type of everyday news, for instance, you would expect them to make mistakes and you would be okay with it. But I think because we have that higher bar set with AI, our expectations are so much higher as well. Great examples. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Padmini, go ahead.
So really quick, for your lunch order use case, you have given your OpenClaw your credit card information and all of that.
Yes.
And you feel comfortable doing that?
Yeah, so that's a good point as well, right? I mean, and even though these are kind of, I wouldn't say frivolous, they are kind of small use cases and they have low blast radius, I would say. It has a budget, right? So it has a $30 budget, it doesn't exceed, right? And if it exceeds that, it asks me for permission, right? So people ask like, hey, would you be comfortable your agent buying something on your behalf? My agent buys lunch for me every day, right? So even though it's like a controlled experiment, but we're going into this agentic payment kind of paradigm. And those are the things that I wanted to explore with this, right? Memory, agentic payment, and again, other interesting stuff, right? So it does buy things for me, but it has a budget, and in last 2 months, probably there is $1.50 that it has ever kind of spent beyond its budget, use my credit card for that. But for everything else, it has stayed within the budget and probably sometimes overpays tips, and I'm fine with that.
Thank you.
Let's go back to the slides. I wanted to kind of cover a few other things. Sorry, slide is here. This we talked about, so I want to skip this. Like some of the learnings that I wanted to touch base is we put so much emphasis on model. This model is better than that model. New models are coming, this and that. The harnesses are actually a good equalizer. I started my claw with Anthropic model and moved to OpenAI models, used Kimi, K2, Moonshot, open source kind of model for a bunch of time. My experience as an experience talking this remote employee did not change a whole lot. I did not actually kind of see a lot of behavioral changes in the in my clause interaction. What I mean by that is your harness is creating a buffer zone of that intelligence. There is some intelligence in the harness as well, and that is where if you're a builder, right, we don't control the model layer. We will never be able to control the model layer. It'll always be somebody else's model, right? Whether it's OpenAI's model or some Chinese model, right? We will not control that layer, but we can control the harness layer. And that's something that I want to underscore, that's where the moat is. That is why, bad example, I shouldn't say as ex-Microsoft employee, GitHub Copilot uses the exact same model, or used to use the exact same model as Codex and then Anthropics, but Claude Code is so much more different as compared to GitHub Copilot, right? It is the harness and not the model. They use the same base model, right? So there's a lot of value in the harness. So anybody who's building out anything in the enterprise space, again, put a lot of kind of value on your harness. Okay? Memory and instructions, like memory compounds, memory creates stickiness. So if you're in the B2C space, we used to, and again, I'm in a B2C space right now. We put people into these taste profiles, these kind of cohorts of interest groups and so on and so forth. And that's how we used to do recommendation or personalization for people. I think we are moving from that to a state which is hyper personalized. The agent knows you well. It has memory about you, what you buy, what you listen, what you read, what you eat, right? My bot knows very well what I like to eat, and out of 5 days, I would say 4 times it orders salad for me, right? And sometimes it goes crazy, and I've asked it to go crazy and it tries something else, right? So that memory will take our implementations. Again, in the enterprise scenario, think of that. There's a lot of corollary there that that hyper personalization is very interesting because people want things that they want, and these systems should work for them and not for somebody else. Right? When you go to Facebook, we say, right, you're the product because you're not paying for it. But these systems have the capability to kind of work for you and not for somebody else. And then again, demos are impressive. Production kind of exposes a lot of things, even though these workflows are running, they are not 100%, right? I mentioned the browser integration breaks all the time. I didn't get lunch today. I had to go and order it myself. Yesterday was the same story. I didn't get time to fix the browser integration, but tonight I will, so that it orders for me next morning. So it is flaky, but when you do something consistently over time, you will know what are the rough edges, and you can go fine tune them and so on and so forth. And so that's kind of interesting learning. I can open up for question. I have two more slides if people care about enterprise and how should you think about in the enterprise space. I can go through those, but I'm happy to actually even take questions and answer if people have questions
Actually,
about
this would be really relevant, Ashish, if you can go through these, because I think it's going to become important. Especially, some people might have already heard that in a lot of places, people are running OpenClaw without visibility. So I think this is going to be important if you don't mind.
So somebody was asking me, like, remember, the reason I call these four exponents is once you see something like this, you cannot unsee it, right? Your employees, once they get the taste of it, they would want something as powerful as this in their work environment, because at home they can, right? Claude Code, right? If you get used to Claude Code, it's very hard for you to latch onto any other tool from a coding perspective, right? So developers swear by it because it creates that value for them, right? So it's a similar moment. Once they've seen that, you can't unsee that, right? So as an enterprise, you need to think through, right? How would you give people open claw like experience in their daily work? So automations and optimizations that we are doing for our daily life can be brought into our work as well, right? And then people have been gravitating. I mean, I know we're still going through this. This ship is on the tsunami is coming very fast at us, right? And enterprises are a slow beast, right? A lot of them are still figuring out what is our secure employee chat kind of strategy. Is it Copilot? Is it ChatGPT Enterprise, or is it now Anthropic Cloud Cowork, right? What is it? Uh, but then the world has already moved over. If you're still an enterprise who's planning for secure employee chatbot, we're actually operating in past, and the world is already living in a different time scale, right? So now you need to think through, you need to enable your employees with digital twins or teammates or virtual employees and whatnot, right? And that is what an open claw is. So again, that mindset shift is super interesting and important to think through. What is it? And then the second lever is customers. What do you do for your customers? You serve them some services, right? They will want to see more of these agentic services, right? Can I place an order ahead of time? Again, Uber you can do ahead of time, but so on and so forth. But like, can I mean, if let's say Grubhub had an agent which can order things on my behalf and it can use just the taste profile that it has, I won't have to worry about my OpenClaw anymore. I could just use the Grubhub agent to do all of that stuff. And all is within their contained box for them, right? I mean, they maintain kind of all of that data integrity and whatnot, right? So again, as an enterprise, you'll have to think through, right? What are the services that I'm offering to my customer? How I am offering it? And does it has these agentic experiences and capabilities in it? And especially if I'm providing a service, if I'm only relying on my UI, my app, then I'm not going to operate in a world which is agentic because I don't have these MCP servers and APIs, right? I mean, more and more people will use probably some kind of a chatbot, I don't know, OpenAI chatbot or Anthropic chatbot to buy things or plan vacations and whatnot, right? And then if your system doesn't integrate, you're not in the yellow pages, right? So we can't find that business anymore. So again, people would have, I mean, as an enterprise, you need to think through, go beyond your own UX, don't obsess too much about your UX, and think how you will operate in the new world, how agentic payment would pan out and stuff like that. So those are the things that you have to think through.
And I think Bipin had a question. Bipin, do you want to unmute yourself? Or did it get answered for you?
Yes, I think Ashish touched on it. Thank you. Thank you, Ashish, for your time. So again, thinking of organizations maybe that are smaller and don't have full-blown development teams, how do you, uh, what is a longer-term strategy that organizations should take to onboard tools like OpenClaw for essentially cheaper employees to get like some low-hanging fruit stuff out of the way? I mean, obviously there are security concerns. So I mean, how do you, and we're pretty, I feel, nascent in the transformation or the moment's just happening. So how do organizations that are smaller in stature kind of prepare themselves for, what's coming?
If you're smaller, you're actually at a position of advantage, right? You don't have all of that baggage, and then your appetite for risk is high. I am an advisor to a company, and coincidentally, the CEO was in the call as well, right? And I think he dropped out. But my advice to him as well, you need to have AI on the board. And I'm on kind of advisory board. I'm like, you need an AI on the board because that is how companies will operate in future, right? You need an advisor to kind of go through all your board calls, your customer calls, and whatnot, right? And be able to advise you, whether passively or actively, that's up to you to decide. But you absolutely need your AI on the board. And he and I actually sat one of the evenings. We went through Claude Cowork and we looked at the website, identified issues, and really the idea was to enable him to do things on his own. And as a non-technical person, still feel very confident about things that he could get done with these tools. Andy?
Yeah. So again, most of us are AI evangelists, right? So this is what we do, paint this picture where the world is going. But big picture, right? There's an arms race towards singularity, artificial general intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
So when you delegate, when you have your twin doing all of this, when enterprises delegate, their employees' tasks to agents, what happens at singularity when the agents take over, have a mind of their own, and start doing stuff that you've not even envisioned?
No clue. I mean, I can look in future. I think and this is something that I say all the time, when tools can build anything, what would you want to build? When agents can solve all tasks, what task are you going to ask them to solve for you, right? The agency is still in our hands, and we should wield while we have that control. When we lose control, who knows what happens then? And hopefully we don't. I mean, that's kind of the positive outlook that I can have right now.
Thank you. Great presentation, by the way.
Thank you.
Very enlightening.
Ashish, I have one question. If you are turning into AI professionals in the middle of your career, with the technology and everything is kind of changing so much so rapidly, what's the advice you give? What's the roles you prepare if you want to extend your career for another 10 years? What are the things you think that?
Yeah, this will be an opinionated kind of response, but what I would maybe even a little bit humble as well, we all need to reinvent ourselves. The roles are collapsing. You talk to developers, they feel the pinch and they're worried about, hey, anybody can write code. There is no differential of my skill anymore, right? I've spent 10 years writing all of this code, learning all of these kind of tools and languages, and anybody can write code these days. So they're feeling worried. As product managers, again, we feel worried, like, hey, you want to generate ideas about improving a product, throw it in front of Claude Code, ChatGPT, it can generate 20 ideas, which might be better than humans and whatnot. So again, everybody is being displaced a little bit, which I feel is good as well, because it can forces us to think like, what are core skills that I have? What do I uniquely bring to the table? And how can I augment it, right? What could I not do earlier that I can do now? There are a bunch of things that, again, I'm doing at work, which was not in my foray. I'm writing evals, which I would have delegated to a data science team or MLE team, right? I'm like, hey, this is stuff that I can do, right? I'm running analytics on kind of data, and this is something the analytics team used to do. I'm like, hey, I can do this, right? So I am going a few steps on that kind of value chain, right? I'm up leveling what I can do and contribute in terms of my contribution, my value add to the work. And I'm learning new skills along the way, right? So if you want a one-line answer of acquire new skills, keep constantly learning, don't stop learning at all. There are so many new unique tools. You want to do design work, again, Figma, Make, and a bunch of other things can help you. You want to write code, there are tools to do that. Again, remember that. And tools can do anything. Again, it's up to you. What do you use those tools for?
I'll go. So thank you so much, Ashish. That was an amazing presentation. So as tools like OpenAI, Claw is making it very easy to build agents. And it's essentially, we all know the ChatGPT came, and now with all these other technologies, it's lowered the barriers, right? So do you think that this is democratizing innovation, or is it democratizing risk? And when we think about guardrails, what do you think is absolutely non-negotiable?
Great point. It is definitely democratizing skills. Like, you can be a designer today, you can be an data analyst, you can be a data scientist, you can be any, you can assume any role that you would want to, because the tools will enable you to do that. Which areas you want to grow your kind of skill set, which areas do you want to operate, where do you feel most comfortable with? Actually, most comfortable is not, you should feel a little bit uncomfortable as well. Where do you want to grow, right? Those things you should think through and kind of acquire these skills and tools. And there is absolutely no barrier to kind of go in any direction that you want to. In terms of so keep learning, right? That's my, and keep building. If you don't build, you're behind, right? I had a friend, I don't know if I have time for this story, but I had a friend who was kind of laid off, and she was like really feeling miserable about herself, and like, hey, I've spent 10 years at this organization. I've not acquired extra skills, new skills outside this. But the moment she started building, again with these tools, her confidence level was next level. Like, I mean, you talk to her, it feels like she can do anything. Like, she's thinking of like, hey, I'm going to do my own startup and whatnot, right? So it brings a new energy, but you have to be building. If you're not building, you're behind, right? So that's something to think through. What kind of guardrails? There's certain non-negotiables. Like, again, depends on where you're coming from, but there are certain things that your agent should not do and engage in. A lot of those things are codified in our legal language and whatnot. So I would say follow the law of the land. You'll be fine. But yeah, things like that, I would say.
Thank you.
Hey, Ashish, if I want to set this up today on my laptop, on my Surface or whatever, do you have like a checklist or something that, because you've gone through this, you've done it, you've learned, unlearned certain things. Is there something that you can share with us, share with the group that is like, okay, 1, 2, 3, do this, this, is there something like that?
Yeah, I can find something. I can even ask my OpenClaw to kind of have a script and send it. But again, what I would suggest is don't set it up on your primary machine unless you're doing a Docker-based install. Primary thing is you want an always running machine, right? So this thing runs in the basement all the time. Again, I don't have to use it. I don't shut it off, right? So it's always running. So you want an always running machine, right? Cannot be your cannot be your primary machine for other reasons that most of your data is there, right? Wipe it clean and install kind of just the basic install. Go to ChatGPT, will instruct you how to install. There's no rocket science in that. You'll learn a bunch of things along the way, right? Get comfortable with CLI. CLI is the new UI, right? So again, if CLI feels daunting, give it a try. I mean, that is something that'll grow on you. And again, it's a new skill to learn. That is one of the new skills to learn, right? Start with minimum privileges. Like, don't give it access to your email. Don't give it access to your credit card. Don't ask it to kind of order food for you right away, right? Start with smaller things, research, look up this thing, stuff like that, give it separate email address and whatnot. Start with minimum kind of privileges, and then seek scenarios which kind of create that trust layer, right? See consistency in behavior. When you feel more comfortable, go for more ambitious tasks.
You trusted it very quickly, like 2 months. That's amazing.
More risk taking, maybe.
No. That's good. Any other questions?
Was there a question here?
I have a question.
Yes, please.
Yeah. First of all, thank you. This was very insightful. So with respect to guardrails, one form of guardrails is tight, stricter system prompts. Do you think is there any other form of guardrails? Because we cannot always just rely on system prompts, right?
Sure. Are you talking from OpenClaw perspective or guardrails in general to your AI, if you were talking about that?
Generally,
Yeah.
you can compare it to OpenClaw too.
Yeah. So guardrails is a multi-layer strategy, right? I mean, obviously, system prompt is something which stays in context in context memory of the model, so it carries it all the time. So it kind of follows that very well. But then it can also be prompt injected very easily. Models have become more sophisticated. Smaller models are more vulnerable. Larger models are less vulnerable to prompt injection. They also have multiple tiers of privileges. So if you're a developer, you're a model provider, you will have more privileges. But if you're a tool, you're a user of the model, then you will have less privileges. But then you've seen, right, all models.
From the builder perspective, when we build the different layers, as you said, the first layer, I think the last layer is system prompt, right?
Correct. So your whether you're on AWS, AWS would have its guardrails. Your Azure will have. So that is one layer. System prompts are another thing. You could also have observability on top of your model. Like there's another model which checks the output and input, right? So you can kind of create a multi-tier system. You can also observe runtime, not just kind of offline, but at runtime, the output and outcomes it is creating, and then have decisions on that. Are they good outcomes, bad outcomes as well? Right? So again, you can go and do many things there. It's a subject of its own.
Thank you.
Cool. Any other questions I can answer?
I think Geeta was requesting your GitHub link.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to see if you
Yeah.
will be able to share the GitHub link.
Yeah. I will share the GitHub link.
Yeah.
Let me see.
That would be helpful.
Let me find my GitHub. Any other questions while I do that?
I love the fact that you also have so many tabs open, Ashish.
Ashwin, oh my God, yeah. Ashwin, do you want to go ahead? Yeah, I don't feel bad now.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, it should be. This is probably an easy question.
Is that a male thing? Because I don't see any of the females using this type of screens.
No. So
you need to look at our screens. Look at mine and Padmini's.
So one thing I'm really like territorial about is tab space, and you will see Anthropic. It's starting to crawl into my tab space because it's creating its own tab groups and doing things on its own, and I'm like, it's taking my space. I'll drop the link in the chat. Yeah, there was another question, I think, right?
Sorry, Ashwin.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, Ashish, for doing this. This is really insightful. Do you monitor any logs or anything? Do you audit what it's done in the last week or anything like that?
So yes and no, in the sense I don't monitor what it is doing. So if it is doing something nefarious that I am probably oblivious of, right? I have no clue if it's working on somebody else's behalf. But there are few things, right? My OpenClaw is not open to public. The only way you can interact with it is our two channels, Telegram and Discord. You will also see in Discord, I've created a chat group with me, my son, and my claw, so he can chat with it. And that is the only channel that he has access to, so he cannot go to other channels that I'm working on. So he can only have his conversation. So he has been chatting about, hey, how do I set up OpenClaw on a Raspberry Pi? So that way it's not open to, but if there's a backdoor and whatnot, then I'm oblivious to it. Don't send your OpenClaw to Moldbook because people will prompt inject it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, again, take that minimum privileges approach. It'll serve you well, and then you can kind of expand the horizon gradually.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thanks.
I think we are already over time, but Ashish, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for your time and, for sharing all what your setup, for the tips and tricks and all of that. We really appreciate it. And thank you to all of you for attending and being part of this online event today. We do have another amazing speaker coming up at the end of the month, so please stay tuned for that and keep building, like what Ashish said, So keep building, and we'll see you the next time. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you so much, Ashish. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.